And basically what you have to do is you have to wedge this clay. And what wedging does, it actually does two things before I put it on the pottery wheel. It actually gets all the air pockets out of it, and it kind of compresses the clay. And I also kind of get it into that cone form. Now I'm going to go ahead and mess up the table here. And when I'm wedging, what I'm doing is I'm kind of taking my hand and cupping it, and I'm just using my body weight, and I'm just pushing forward. And this clay is very wet, but you want to make sure you wedge it. If you don't wedge it, you're going to end up with air pockets in it. And air pockets are bad when you're trying to center the clay. And I usually try and wedge this in two directions. Alright, that's pretty good right there. And you can see how it leaves a mess. Now after you get that done, you'll have to stand up. I'm going to do this. Actually, I have my pottery wheel right here. And pottery wheels are good. They're useful when you want to make a lot of like symmetrical forms. This one's seen better days. I need a new one really for school. But you need a couple of different tools. I'll go ahead and click this off. Some of the tools I use when I throw with, I got a throwing rib, sponge to hold water. Also I have another stick to kind of do designs and also cut the bottom. But the first part in throwing is kind of what we call centering the clay. And centering is pretty important. If you don't have your clay centered, it's not going to be very good as far as making the pots. So I kind of place that in the center. Go ahead and click this back on. And I'm just going to kind of wedge it down as I'm going around. And by hitting it like this, it kind of gets it in the middle. Not a whole lot of speed. Now there are some misconceptions about like centering the clay and using water, how much water you use. You don't really need a whole lot. You know, actually just a little bit, just enough to get your hands to where it slides. If you use too much, you're going to end up with slip instead of clay. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm pulling the clay up. Now I always take my elbow and stick it on the inside of my knee over here, and that way my arm can't go anywhere. And I just push down. And my wheel is warped a little bit. You can see how it hiccups a little bit. One more leverage here. There we go. A little more water. And this clay is actually from Eastern. It has a little bit of bentonite in it and some other things. And it helps you center it. Okay, so now that my clay's centered, I'm going to kind of clean this up. Clean up my edge. Now I'm ready to actually start throwing the throwing process. Now when I'm throwing, I have this thing that kind of mounds up like this, and what I'm going to do is drill down on the inside and make an opening. So this is called the drilling part. And you got to be careful not to drill down to the wheel of the head. So I'm kind of looking at that and looking at the other part. Just a little bit further. So right now I have the sides that go up and then it comes down right here. And you can kind of look at the center. Did you see the center? Kind of see that how that looks right there. It goes up and then back in. So it's really like almost like a W.
Hannah Stevenson, please report to the office.
Add a little bit of water to the inside. Now I'm going to take and drag that bottom out like this, and it's going to go up and it's going to come back in like this. Smooth out the bottom. Alright, so you kind of see, I kind of have that shape. Now I want it to look more like a volcano instead of looking like a bowl because I've not pulled any rings up yet. So I'm going to go ahead and push this back over this way. And I always want the lip to be kind of thick. It gives it a lot of stability. Get all my excess clay out of the bottom. If you don't, I found out that it will crack when you're firing it. It holds a lot more moisture, and all your pots have cracks in the bottom of them. Alright, Now we've kind of got our clay centered, got the inside made. Now we're ready to take all this clay at the bottom and kind of pull it up to make our form. Now most people start off with cylinders. And cylinders, basically what I use to make cups. I take the side and push them out to make bowls. You make jars, teapots, even taller vases. Everybody always starts out with a cylinder. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this hand, and this is going to be on the inside because I'm right-handed, and I take my thumb and I kind of go around it with my first finger, and I kind of make a thing to kind of pull the clay. And I like to hold the sponge with these two hands, and if I need a little water, I just kind of squeeze a little bit. Just add a little bit of water to the outside. Got this part on the inside. Some people like to use two fingers. And when I'm pulling this, what I'm doing is I'm imagining I'm going to pull right up to my nose. So basically, this is where you want to slow down. It's not about speed. Okay, and stop. I left the rim kind of thick, so that way, remember, we want it to be stable. I'm only charging $5.95 for this video podcast, so good deal. No, just kidding. Everybody's like all serious. Alright, you can see how I have a little groove right there at the bottom. I'm just going to start right there. And this clay is not as consistent as the clay that I usually buy, but it's free, so I'm not going to gripe too much. It has little chunks of like, you know, different stuff in it, fired clay, what we call grog, and so on. So that's the second pull. I'm going to do one more pull, then I'm going to actually use my throwing rib. Now if you really want to watch somebody do this and do it well, the person that works at KCOC, her name's Teresa Pope, she's actually much better at this than I am. She does this for a living, and she has a pottery studio at KCOC, and she also sells her work downtown at Tammy's restaurant. Now this is the fourth one, and what I want is I want my cylinder to have that 90-degree angle this way. So I set my rib like this, and I kind of push it into the side. That's going to make it come over a little bit. So again, we'll make sure that we have our hand a little bit wet. Got the rib wet. And you can actually come up and you can pull some clay when you do this too. Now what I mostly make is cups. It's pretty much all I do, and I do them for Christmas. And so basically all I worry about is making the cylinder, my form, and then I go back and I kind of change things on it. I might add a groove here and there. Now when you're talking about ceramics, most people talk about three parts. They talk about the body, which is the overall side, talk about the rim, which is what a lot of people call the lip, and also the foot. The foot is actually at the bottom. Let me get my other throwing stick. So I have a stick right here, and I can hold it at different angles, and what I'm going to do is cut the foot in. So I'm going to kind of work my way in from the edge, and I'm trying to do this on this side so y'all can see that. And you can see how it kind of lifts it up. And what it does is when the piece is made, it kind of like lifts it up off the surface that it's going to sit on. So I'm going to go back with the stick and kind of clean up a little bit. Did you see where I was doing that, filming it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you can do a lot of finished work now while you're kind of throwing it on the pottery wheel. You don't have to wait till after it's leather hard and then kind of start adding things together. The top part, if I wanted to, kind of go back and clean that up. Add a nice lip to it up here. Take the sponge. A lot of people use chamois, cloth. And you know this right here is the part that's going to like touch your mouth, so you don't want any sharp edges. So I always I want that angle right there, but I also want it soft. You know, pottery is something people use. It's an applied art. It's supposed to be visually pleasing, but also useful. So this is kind of done. And I'm going to waste this one right here. And I'm going to show you kind of what a lot of pottery people look for. So to actually, if I was going to save this, what I would do is I would take my wire, cut it off the bottom, take a little bit of water, and what that does, that water slides between the head of the pottery wheel and the bottom of the cup, and it kind of provides a surface. This is kind of hard to do without a big bucket here. But we'll go ahead, dip the sponge. You want these wet as well. Makes it a little bit easier. And you take and you can slide it, and it slides off like that. Okay? Now, most people that make pottery, what they want is they want the thickness of the sides, the bottom, and the other side to be the same. I'm probably not that good because I don't throw that much anymore. Oops, sorry. Wrong way with the gas. Let me stop it here. Anyway, you can see where I messed it up there. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it. And the bottom of this is pretty thick. But the sides are pretty good. I don't know, that's pretty good. So if you look at it, what you're looking for is you're looking for this edge right here to be the same thickness as the bottom. You can see that. And that's kind of how we were trained to do this. And the guy that trained me actually did mass pottery. He did a lot of it on pottery wheel for production. And he worked for a guy that sold a lot of stuff. Probably the most popular place is in Richmond. It's called Bybee Pottery. A lot of people go up there and buy it. You know, that's probably one of the most locally known areas. So that's basically a throwing demonstration, and that's it.